But you know what? He was in first grade. I'm an adult. Do I really need to make this right? I mean, he's just a first grader. I felt horrible. And I went up to him and I said, we found out that you didn't do it. I am so sorry that happened. I am so sorry. And you know what he said? You know what Jesus says about children? He looked at me and went, totally forgiven. It's nothing. And I mean, I'm just crying. And so we need to go back and make things right if we hurt them, even if it's because we were disappointed in them for messing up. You don't be the one to create a hurting person.
Welcome back to the Doc School Leader Podcast, where we're dedicated to the renewal and growth of school leaders. I'm your host, Kyler Martin. We hope to help you lead your school community with greater wisdom and courage. Transformative schools need effective leaders, and effectiveness requires patient training. Here we go. What were we created for, and how does that inform our relationships? In this final episode in our segment on relationships, Jeff Swanson describes 4 fundamentals that become especially potent when relationships turn problematic. They are love, listening, structure, and direct communication. If you know Jeff, you may catch the humor of his title and of his propositions to offer groundbreaking thoughts about relating to children and million-dollar hints for interacting with parents and other teachers. Jeff Swanson has taught in a wide range of school settings for several decades and offers here some of what he's learned in nurturing strong relationships around the school. Jeff throws in many anecdotes alongside of very straightforward collection of principles. If you want to love your job and want your teachers to love their jobs 5 and 10 years from now, this will help point you in the right direction.
So, naughty students, naughty parents, naughty teachers. I'm trying to make a little bit of light on a kind of a negative subject, but maybe it doesn't have to be negative. We have certain areas of brilliance, and some people are brilliant, I guess, because they studied or because they think they're brilliant. I was there in my 30s. I knew so much about so many things, including students and parents, and getting on with people in my 30s, and then I lost it all somehow. And so now I really am brilliant in these things because I've messed up so many times, and that makes you really smart. It really does. And I think it's a nicer way to think that you're brilliant because of all your failures rather than you're just a genius. And so in case you're going to try to figure out who I'm talking about, I just want to give you a little background on where we've been and what we've done, and I don't think that you will be right on it. So my name is Jeff Swanson. I teach at Terry Hill Mennonite High School and Shalom Elementary School. It's a K through 8 school. I teach full-time music, and I absolutely love my job. I love teaching music to everyone. I want to teach every person in Lancaster County, and I really actually don't say that in jest. To answer the questions that you have for me, I am 53 years old, and I do not feel a day older than 53. Yeah, that's not what you thought I was going to say, is it? And remember, I am 5'3", so you can let that rest in your mind. And I am from a non-Mennonite background. However that works into it, I just think sometimes people are wondering, Swanson, maybe that's why. Anyways, so these stories and things that I'm going to talk about are from experience, and I just want you to know that since 1997, I have worked with homeschoolers, homeschool classes. I've taught in the public school. I've taught in the Baptist school. I've taught in a Mennonite church school of 20 people or so. I have taught in the Beachy school, also a church school. I have taught in a charity church school, which there aren't a lot of those, and I was privileged to get to teach in one of those. And I have taught in a community Mennonite school, elementary school, which had 180 or so students, and also in a Mennonite high school, community school, which has averages about 100 students. And so, and I've also taught the Amish. I love the Amish, and I love their singing schools. Oftentimes when speakers are asked to present, sometimes they'll just be given a subject and the speaker's expected to study up on it and say intelligent, helpful things. And sometimes it really is an experiential thing. I've thought about this for a long time. We humans We're complicated. Oftentimes, our lives and our outputs socially are based inadvertently on hurts that we've had in life and bad experiences and good. And, we should love one another and work together. So I just have a little opening question, and I think this, I hope, flavors what I do and what you do. What do you really think, biblically speaking, what Christ says, what do you think we were created for? I think, possibly, and I think this is within that God has created us to love. I know we would usually say created us to worship, even though it actually doesn't say it in those words. It does say in Isaiah, the one place he's created us to glorify his name. It was easy for Christ. What did he say? What are the two most important commandments? Love God and to love one another. And I think that really trumps everything he wants us to do. When the Israelites are in trouble, the first thing he wants them to do is not restore the worship. He wants them to go be kind to their brothers and sisters and restore relationships. So keep that in mind. All right. So 4 things I thought about. I could almost end with this, but I want you to think about these things and me to think about these things as we talk. Is love people, listen, which is hard since we're teachers and we know so much about everything, structure, and direct communication. I've had a little journey personally in passive-aggressive behavior, and communicating directly is such a wonderful thing, and it's hard because we exist in close-knit communities and we don't want to hurt people's feelings oftentimes. And I know we do hurt people's feelings sometimes. So, all right, we are going to first start with naughty students. Remember, if you read the introduction that was in the thingy that y'all had sent to you last night, why I think I'm pretty good at this is because I've been a naughty student. That's so funny to say. And maybe I still am. And I've been a naughty parent. And that doesn't mean to my children, in context, it's parents that approach teachers in schools in a naughty way. And I have been a naughty teacher as well. That doesn't mean a horrible, mean person. I just think sometimes that we... well, you know how we are as humans. So, students, a few groundbreaking things to consider. Maybe they're not for y'all, but they are for me. Never tell a human what they are thinking. So often we read people's minds, and remember, only God can read minds. I think so often we think we can read people's motives. It's really hurtful when you are dealing with adults, and it's really hurtful with students. A lot of these things I'm sharing with you are actually not based on me being a teacher, but me being a parent. My baby just graduated a year ago, and so I've had quite a few children. I've had 5. I have 5. And, you hear how they feel based on communications with others. When Cain was sinning with his sin, God knew what his motive was, did he not? But he didn't say, Cain, I know what your problem is, and this is why you're doing that. What did he do? He said, why do you feel like this about the offerings? Why do you think this happened? Why are you upset? God knew. That is such good teaching. He let Cain say what was going to happen. Again, he knew everything. So if God does it, I think it's so good if there's a problem with the student to say, can you tell me what's going on? So, number 2, under a few groundbreaking things to consider, always ask students, if you think they're being naughty, if they just stand up and say something rude to you, okay, obviously that's a problem. Sometimes sensitive teachers or preachers, they're watching everybody. I'm watching y'all right now and seeing, okay, that one's not with me, I'm not sure. That one's nodding their head the whole time. And sometimes we're like, that one hates me. When I teach, I smile, and I think I'm funny, so I say things that I think are funny. I'm passionate about teaching. I absolutely love it. As soon as I'm done, I'm an introvert, and so I have a horrible resting face. It's horrible. Dina will sometimes be in church, and she'll be like, Jeff, your face, your body language, and I'll be like... And so people will meet me in my introverted, non-teaching modes and be like, is he mad? Is he kind of scary? I go extrovert all day long when I teach, and I'm exhausted at the end of the day. So I have people in Walmart that'll be like, can you smile? I'm like, do you realize what you're saying to me? So I'm like ugly or something? Or you realize how that comes across. But you know what? A wise person would say to somebody like me in that situation, do you realize how you're coming across? It looks like you're miserable. I had a student in choir class. Of course, that's what I teach. And she looked like she was absolutely miserable. And so usually think either they don't like singing or they don't like me or both. So I thought, you know what? I kind of want to just come down on her and say, fix your attitude. I went up and I said, you're coming across like this. And her countenance dropped and she said, I was scowling, wasn't I? And I was like, yeah, you were scowling. And she says, I have a horrible scowling face. I love singing. And you know what? The subject was over. I kind of wanted to go after her. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just ready to take them down. You don't like my class? Oh, really? And so that blessed me. And you know what? The student, I shouldn't tell you how old they are now. Anyways, every time the scowl comes across now, I think, you know what? I'm going to trust her. And just has a weird resting face. Groundbreaking thought number 3. Say nice things all the time to all of your students. This whole problem we have with complimenting people because we might make them proud, I just think unless you do it in a strange way and tell them that they're the greatest human being, greatest Mennonite volleyball player in the world or whatever, I think it's going to build them up. We need to be a blessing, speak blessings to all of our students all the time. Don't ruin your ratio of blessings and not blessings with your students by certain students. Every time you see them, it's like, remember this, remember what we talked about, can you work on that today? Every time. The students do realize those things and it really hurts them. I try to say things sweet to my students all the time. I'm just telling you, I like shoes, okay? I like Vans and I like Dad's shoes now. But anyways, at Shalom where I teach, there's a school uniform. There's not a lot I can say. So I will just tell students, yeah, I like those shoes. You know what? The faces light up. And then it gets to where if they get new shoes, am I making them covetous? I don't know. But you know what? I want to be a light and a blessing to those students every day at school so that that's there to light up their heart. You know, little guys will come up to me and they'll just come up to me and show the shoes to me. And I'm like, what are they doing? What are they doing? What am I saying? Oh, your shoes, those are great, buddy. You know what? It makes their days. You know what? Most little girls aren't going to have 2 braids when they're 17 years old. I'll say, you got 2 braids today. That looks nice. And you know what? They might not say thank you, but they walk away and they're like, mm-hmm. Be a blessing. And that way, when you need to say, I need to talk to you, it's sandwich. I don't like the sandwich method, which when you got to say something to somebody, say one thing nice to them, go in for the kill, and then say something else nice. Once somebody that never talks to me and never says anything is like, I got to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And they're like, you're having a great day. You're doing good teaching. I'm just like, just slay me. Okay, I know where we're going with that. But you know what? If your relationship with them is cushioned with blessings, it's going to feel much better. Still hard. Direct communication trumps all. I can be very cryptic in my speech, even with my teasing, which I do to people that I'm comfortable with. Cryptic meaning not saying exactly what I want, and I kind of enjoy that. I can also be cryptic when I don't want to say, can you just be quiet, or say it in private. I like to say, over here, which really is a teaching technique, somebody's talking, could you please be quiet, or having this attitude. Some people pick on it directly, and a lot of people don't. And you end up with problems with your relationship and then with continuing to misbehave because you weren't direct. Is it hard to be direct with people that you're going to go to church with and work for? It is. But in the end, there's such blessings, even if it's a wound instead of a kiss. All right, structure. I spent some time last week with some people talking about beachy Amish people versus Mennonites and Old Order Mennonites. And you know what? We need each other so much. Are the Mennonites pretty structured? Oh yeah, we are. Is it really a beautiful thing? Yes, it is. Are the Amish and the beachy Amish very relational and very community-oriented? Yes, they are. And it's a beautiful thing. And we just need both. When we're talking in school, I just want to emphasize that a kind yet consistent structure can help so many problems. If you're a teacher that has no structure and you have to say, you be quiet, can you be quiet again? Shh. I try to never say shh to my students. It's so fatiguing, especially long term. I've had friends, we'd meet like once a year, a music teacher, and my friend would say, I'm so tired, they won't quit talking. And I said, just make a rule. There we go, structure, a rule, and just say you can't talk for the first 20 minutes of class, and then he's up. 2 years later, I want to quit. I love my job, but I can't stand it. They talk too much. All it would take to help this naughtiness is just make the rule. And then if they break it, there's some consequence or something. And that's it. You're not mad. And so I just really want to encourage that. I love relational. I love my students. I love the kindergartners, and I love the 12th graders. I love the 22-year-old Amish and their singing. I love the people in the youth choirs. I just love them. I had a class once, it was 8th grade class, and they were naughty for their homeroom teacher. They were naughty for the 7th graders. They were naughty for me. I mean, it was bad and it was hard. And I had to decide for the rest of this year, for the next 6 months, we are a couple months into it, I'm going to have to go more structure than relationship. And it was horrible for me. It was hard. I'm not like that. I love my students. I want to talk to them and bless them. It just couldn't work because that's where they were. In the end of the year, I had a really good relationship with them. There are other teachers that weren't sure what to do and went a little more relational. It went kind of bad. Does that make sense? Can you believe me on that? Just a little bit. And you know what? They graduated from 8th grade and went to 9th grade, and it was fine. That group just needed a little bit more of, I love you, but we're just going to have to do what you're asked. So hide that in your heart. And remember, I love my students. I really do. I want them to like me. But in the end, the importance is how we're training them and to do what's right. Bullying, I'm just saying, there's no room for this. Obviously, we can never get angry. If anything upsets me, it would be that. I can't stand it. I think it's so mean. And that stays with adults, forget school students, for the rest of their lives. Sometimes it turns into compassion, and sometimes I think it turns into something else bad. When it happens, it really needs to be dealt with. And see what I put there? No matter who the parents are, what their financial status is in regards to the school, it can't happen. It's mean, it's unbiblical. Do you know there's only one time where it says Jesus in anger? He never got angry, and the Bible never says he got angry when he cleansed the temple at the beginning and ending of his ministry. It doesn't say he got angry, does it? It just says he did what he did. The only time it ever says he looked on them with anger is when the Pharisees were judging him, waiting for him to heal somebody on the Sabbath. They didn't want him to heal and have compassion and love this man on the Sabbath. And it said he looked on them with anger. Only time. So I'm not saying to get mad all the time if you think they're bullying. That pulls my strings. Okay? Love your students and protect them. That should be dealt with the student quickly, and then it should go to the principal and the school board quickly. I've had one family, I've been teaching since 1997, and historically, it was accepted that the grandfather, the dad, and the children were bullies. They were just mean. In our schools, we typically don't have it get very physical. Sometimes it does, and it's just unacceptable. We so much, when we do something wrong to someone, want to just say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? I'll do better and go on. And then we're expected biblically and culturally to say, I forgive you. It stays with children for years when they get picked on. So we need to be so careful. And after we think it's done, they almost need to be, I don't want to say counseled, but just checked in to say, are you okay? So just keep that in mind. It's horrible. All right. E, hurting students can be very naughty. Golden rule, treat very bad students kindly, because you don't know why they're bad. They're not all bullies. I think usually they're not. And I've experienced in my teaching, in the end, the reason students were being naughty, it was just an outplay of hurt. So again, if something's going wrong repeatedly, instead of getting mad and taking them down, it's a blessing just to say, is something wrong and can you tell me? Don't pry like you're looking for gossip, and just say, I do care. You're really doing bad things. What's the matter? And if they could get that hurt out, that could be a huge blessing. Number 2 there, I said, this is a great place to start with any student. Have you been hurt? I say that. I say to my students when they're walking around moping, are you sick or have you been hurt? Because I do want to know pretty quick if something little was said to them, and if I can go to that other student and say, you can't ever do that again. So we need to care for the students. You do have time in the day to care for your students. All right. The ridiculously immature student. Me and my band director. Hi, I'm the ridiculously immature student. I said it on purpose. I just used to think I'm funny. I still think I'm funny, actually. I can tell jokes and nobody laughs, and I just think that's even funnier. And so even if they're not trying to laugh or whatever, I don't know. And so in high school, I was in the school band. And I had a friend, his name was Eric Ward, and we just thought we were funny. I loved my teachers in the public school. I loved the bad teachers the misbehaving teachers. I love my teachers in college. I just love them. I think it was because I was going to be a teacher. So I was not doing this to be disrespectful. So one time we were in band class, supposed to be pretty serious, and my friend and I, we were about 15 or 16. And we thought, wouldn't it be funny if we were in band class and we both had like a barber chair and you could like do the hydraulics and we could be, I know y'all are not laughing, and we could be like way up ahead, and we were like thinking we could be like 15 feet above the band on hydraulics. Keep in mind, we were like 15 and we were laughing and laughing. So y'all are like, that's not even funny. I know, but we were just like, that's like awesome. And to have a barber chair. And so at some point around that time, my band director, who actually teaches at Westchester University, which is about an hour from where I live, he asked us to meet him during a class sometime, him and us, and he said, I think both of y'all two could be great musicians. You've just got to lose this silliness. And what I've learned is silly students are good. The humor is so good for us. They need to learn there's a time to be funny and that there's a time when it's just not appropriate. I still sing in a Mennonite choir, and I just realized at my age, you can time those jokes. I mean, it needs to be like once an hour or something, but you just can't always be, letting your mind go with what you think is funny. And that's just a blessing, because I think oftentimes those are funny students, and I think we need them. They don't need to be shut down and made feel stupid or like they're just bad. They just need to be said, you're not going to reach your potential. I've had that in my teaching experience, and you know what's sad? I've seen it go through senior year and never get taken care of. And again, I didn't want them to lay down the silliness. I wanted them to time it and be appropriate. And it affected, to be honest, how one student for sure sang. Wonderful, awesome voice. It was a guy, and I think that immaturity tendency really hurt. Now it's hard on me. It's nice to have wonderful girl singers. It's really nice to have awesome guy tenor singers. And so that was a little sad. Children whose parents tell them to be naughty. There's darkness in the world, and there's hurt. And I have had this happen. I was in a church situation, and I said, we have a choir program. This has nothing to do with conservative or liberal. I want you to look good. Ladies, whatever dresses, fabric they picked, guys, white shirts, black pants, black belts, black socks, and black shoes. All right? I'm not trying to make you anything you're not. It's just, this is my background. We just match. So two boys came to the program, and they had white socks on. Is that a sin? No. But they clearly heard me say not to. And so I just went up to him and I said, okay, in a way, this isn't a big deal, but you did exactly what I asked you not to. And this was an older, big boy. And he said, Mr. Swanson, if it would have been up to me, I would have done it. My dad said, you are not going to do it. He said, you're going to wear white socks. So I was like, this is psycho. I mean, I really thought that. And so I thought, okay, I'll talk to Dad. And so I think y'all would understand this more than I would. I just said, he disobeyed, and he said, you told him to do it. And the dad said something about, I kid you not, black socks, black shoes, black hose, black cars. And he was kind of mumbling. It was kind of stream of consciousness. I thought, this is really weird. And I kind of got it. For some reason, which we'll talk about it a little later, he hated church structure. He hated it. I added structure by saying, this is what you're going to wear to sing for 30 minutes. And I asked one of the school board guys later, I said, what on earth was that? And he said, he's telling you, I'm not going to do what you asked. Think about that. The boy said, almost in tears, I would have done it. My dad said to disobey. How do you deal with that? I don't have all the answers. I'm kind of here to share some stories. It was very, very awkward, and it was very, very sad. And that kind of followed the boys. I'm pretty sure that one that I talked to is no longer with the Anabaptist. So how do you deal with that? I mean, it's prayer. It's how do you counsel a person who carries that kind of baggage? Anyways, I still ask my students to wear black socks. Anyways, all right. Students who are being traumatized. So again, we need to ask the students what's going on. That shows that you love them, just like God and Cain. This is a story I had when I was in college studying education. So there's a student, inner city student, being horrible, really bad, really, really bad. The teacher, good teacher, says, what's going on? The child was living in a house that had a drug bust. Do you know what happens when there's a drug bust in a house? Every single human being in the house has to be, how do you want to say it? Shut down so that they can't shoot anybody with a gun. Children can shoot people with guns, so every child, they had to hold him down until they made sure the house was secure. Don't you think that would traumatize you? Maybe you wouldn't go. So I realize we probably don't have that situation in our circles, but still, family life can be hard and people can carry those things to school. If nothing else you get out of this, ask what's going on and can you help? Show a little bit of loving kindness there. The beauty of structure. It is so easy to say, with all your good and naughty students, these are the rules and you just can't break them. I realize in some people that means you're going to have this 55 rules or whatever. The public school people in the inner city will do that, and actually the inner city children love that. Go figure that. So I had a rule in one of my choirs once, and it was that you couldn't talk for this amount of time. The students were kind of used to talking before I came, and so I wanted to sing, and so I said, if you talk, I don't even remember what the punishment, it was a dock in their grade. I learned that even high school boys, that all they care about is sports and cars. For some reason, they don't like it when their grade goes down, and if they talked once a week, I take 20 points off their weekly grade, and if they talk twice a week, they're down to a 60. Boys do care about that, and I always thought if the parent said, how can you do that? I'm going to be like, they get 100 if they just don't talk. That's like an easy 100. Does that make sense? So some of you are like, so anyway, so I had this girl. She is and was wonderful. She became a teacher, and she was one of the most supportive people I had. It's hard, but she talked, and I just said, blah, blah, blah. We won't say her name. You talked, and you're going to get docked. I tend to apologize to my students when I discipline them, to be honest. And I just said, I'm so sorry I had to do that. And she wouldn't even let me finish. She said, Mr. Swanson, you made a principle, okay? We can't talk during this time, and I broke it. And so I had this consequence. I get it. It really is nice if you love them, and there's just these things there. So, all right. If you have ever offended a child, even if they were naughty, it was talked about a little bit this morning, and I appreciate that, you make it right. I personally, even though biblically all we owe people when we offend them is, I'm sorry, I'll try to do better. I get that. And then you're done. Sometimes I don't feel like it's enough. If you've hurt a child, even if they were naughtier than you, even if they were bad, I feel like we should go back later and say, are we okay? I'm really sorry I did that and really mean it. So I will tell you a story. I had a student, and he was just a naughty little boy. And we found his name written in the textbooks in pen. In a few textbooks, and obviously it's him, it's his name, he's kind of naughty. So we told his dad, I'm sure he got spanked. He kept doing it, and I'm sure he got spanked more. His dad said, I'm taking care of this, okay? And we're like, thank you so much for taking care of this. I don't remember